The Laughing Cavalier here, presenting to you another tale of these troubled times. And, I'm doing one of these again, which I didn't think I was going to be doing. That's the thing, is I remember I did a post, I think, I might have said it in last year's video as well, that, I think, the era of all these Tudor dramas is finally coming to an end.
Flashback.
At this point, is there anything, I don't think there's anything else I can say. I wonder if there'll even be enough for me to do a video on this next year, because, like I say, it's only really just Wolf Hall coming out, maybe Firebrand.
End of flashback.
And, and then we got more. So much more. Brief, I'm just going to do a quick bit of channel admin before we begin. I'll flash up on screen here after I do the video. I'll do timestamps, and then I'll just go to the relevant sections. If you want to skip all this, because we'll do, say, bit channel admin, then it'll be, I'm going to go through the ones we've had this year, so the year that was, and then onto the ones that have been announced, Tudor related, which will be fun. So yeah, thanks everyone for the views for the Napoleon video, the preview. I think I was a little ambitious when I said it was nearly there, because I recently just put together all the audio I recorded from it, and it was 4 hours long. That's unedited audio.
4 hours?
Once that's all cut out, once I've got it sorted, I think it's going to be at least 3 hours though. So, but I want to get it done. I'm trying to push myself, but it's such a monumental project is a bit daunting. So yeah, that's the main video to watch out for next. This video, I'm recording this in December, but this will probably be out in early January, I imagine. So if I could push myself to get the Napoleon review done by Easter, that would be good. We'll see. Also, if you're a channel member or patron, I do sometimes reveal little previews of like videos I'm working on. So do give me money. Anyway, let's go through the year that was, because it's been an exciting year. And we better start off with the best first. Wolf Hall, The Mirror and the Light. We finally got it. After years, I think it was about 2018 or 19, I think, when they sort of hinted they were doing it. And I think I did a video on it at the time, I remember. And obviously last video I did, they were actually filming it. And yeah, it's been released. Finished last week, again at the time of recording this. Came out a little earlier than I thought, actually. I thought they'd push it off till the spring, but they managed to get out before Christmas, so that's pretty good. And it seems to have been popular, because, again, I'm quoting the Daily Fail, but they're claiming that apparently the first episode had 4 million views. Now, again, that's domestic. For whatever reason, it's not out in America yet. It's coming out in March, I think, on Masterpiece Theatre or something, on PBS, I think. Why they've done that, I don't know. But yeah, 4 million views, and that's pretty good. So that shows it's popular. Maybe the BBC might take the hint, that this is good. It's something you should be doing. I will do a quick review of it at some point after the Napoleon review, I think, because that is just taking all my time. I have done some written reviews. I'll link them below in the description, if I remember. So I'll give some brief sort of thoughts on it. Very good. The acting was very good, very decent. I'd be surprised. And Mark Ryan, at the bare minimum, needs to be nominated for an Emmy or something. If he doesn't, then that is criminal. I would say also the costumes, I think, actually were much better than season 1, because there were problems there. And there was a few problems still. I think the main one was the boots. A lot of men are always wearing their riding boots, even the guards and stuff, which they wouldn't be indoors. Because again, that's why they're riding boots. You wear them when you're riding. Same way, when I'm around the house, I don't tend to wear my Wellington boots if I've been out in the garden. But other than that, very good. The hoods looked pretty much spot on. Some differences here and there. They really made an effort to try and recreate some of the historical costumes. Again, I'll flash up some pictures on screen if I can. Jane Seymour, for example, they recreated her dress quite well. Obviously, there were some little bits with the plot here and there, because it is based on the late Hilary Mantel's book, and there's some errors. I think one of the things is, and again, I think this was my criticism for season 1, is obviously it's positive to Thomas Cromwell, a little bit too much at times, and I think particularly with the dissolution of the monasteries. I think it was in episode 3 off the top of my head. They're talking about what's going to happen to all the, the monasteries once we dissolve them, all the poor who rely on them for alms and so on. It's like, oh no, that's fine. All the gentlemen will take it over and they'll see to it, all right? It's like, oh yeah, that went well. They didn't totally just, buy the land for themselves, take it over, sell it off. And there were certain moments like Cromwell's arrest, for example, they sort of got elements of it there, that he didn't know he was going to be arrested until he got there, and they ripped his chains and stuff off. But it was much more that they already sat down again. Watch the 1972 movie, because that scene is basically how it went. The council was already sat down meeting, and he turned up and was basically like, you're in a hurry, aren't you, to meet without me, gentlemen? And then Norfolk said, do not sit there, Cromwell. Gentlemen do not, traitors do not sit with gentlemen. And then he tried to plead, and was like, I'm no traitor. Let me speak to the king, and they wouldn't let him. And then they, ripped all his chains of office off and stuff. But as I feel, Wolf Hall's version was a bit lackluster by comparison. But yeah, other than that, I thought that was pretty good. Other negatives, there was a lot of recasting, because it's been 10 years, nearly 10 years since the first season came out. Some actors have moved on. I mean, Spider-Man, obviously. He didn't come back to do Gregory, so they obviously had to be recast. Others have obviously sadly passed away, like Bernard Hill, which was a great shame. Overall, most of the recasts, I feel, were a little bit of a step down, but were all right, if that makes sense. So, like Lady Rochford's, for example, I can't remember the actor at the top of my head, but I'll put it on the screen. Because Jessica Raine played her in season 1. She, I felt, was much better. I know obviously they did go for the more kind of evil Lady Rochford, which is now a bit more contested. But yeah, she felt much better in the role. But the actress, even though she wasn't as good as Jessica Raine, I feel like she was all right. And I think, if my memory serves me right, she played Anne Boleyn in the stage version of Wolf Hall. So she's got experience. The only recasting I thought was better was Gardner. And again, I forgot to notify which actor it was who replaced Mark Gatiss. But yeah, he's way better than Mark Gatiss, who was playing Mark Gatiss. The only one I feel was worse was Timothy Spall. He really was to me at least, was a bit of a letdown compared to Bernard Hill. And he's a good, traditional sort of stage actor, which surprised me, because I think perhaps I was expecting better, but he felt very lack of energy, I think. Like, compare it to Bernard Hill in season 1, but obviously this was a necessary casting, because when he was still alive when the series was being filmed, but he was very ill and passed away since. But yeah, it's a shame we couldn't see him again. Unfortunately, the series was mainly dominated by the diverse casting controversy, and the BBC sort of shot themselves in the foot a bit when Kaczynski, the writer or producer, I forget, was the director. I'll flash up on the screen. I forgot to write down my notes, apologies. He did a whole interview where he was talking about how, well, you see, the world the world has changed since season 1. I was like, it's Tudor England. Tudor England hasn't changed. There hasn't been some dramatic discovery since then, has there? I mean, you could have just done, again, and they actually did have, a black trumpeter. It's like, yeah, that's fine. We have John Blank as a historical one. But it's when it's silly things like, it was Jane Seymour's sister, Elizabeth. I was like, but she's meant to be her sister by blood. She's not half-sister, I'm assuming here. Why does she look so dramatically different to the rest of the Seymours? That doesn't make sense. Just from a point of view, it might work well in the theatre, but like when you're trying to relate to an audience, they're saying like, yeah, these are people related to one another, and they look nothing like each other on that scale. It's a bit awkward. However, I feel like it's nowhere near as bad as something like, say, the Anne Boleyn series on Channel 5, because it was just basically, that was the only real prominent role. Everything else is just like the occasional guy in the background, like an odd guard here or there and stuff, so it's not too noticeable, really. But it's just a shame that had to be kind of the dominant story for quite a bit of it. Oh yeah, perhaps another criticism I would say is a bit with the plot, the pacing. It did feel very slow yet fast, which is an odd thing. Like, how can it be slow and fast? Well, it's like they sort of dragged it out for things that went nowhere, and then they feel like they didn't have enough time to cover everything. So you get something like they're sort of dragging out with like, the Pilgrimage of Grace has started, all the rebels are coming, but then the end of it is just like, oh yeah, we'll wait out the winter. Oh yeah, we did. They've gone home. Woohoo! Won! Yay! We didn't get. I was like, as far as we're in the book, I was have to be upfront. I've read the first book, I think, years ago. I've read a few extracts of The Mirror and the Light, which is the third book, which this series is based on. So I'm not as familiar with the source material. The extracts I did read matched up to what I'd read. Like I think the extract I read, was when Catherine Howard is introduced and Lady Roch makes a comment something about her. I forget what the comment is. It's whatever she says in the series, basically what I read in the book. So, but people have told me that apparently the Pilgrimage of Grace is like Robert Aske. You don't see him in The Mirror and the Light, which to me, that feels like a missed opportunity, really. Like trying to show a bit because. But again, that's because perhaps linking back to my point, maybe showing a bit too positively. I imagine someone like Robert Aske wouldn't be so positive towards Thomas Cromwell, nor would all the tens of thousands of people in the Pilgrimage of Grace. So it does feel like there were times when they probably should have showed a bit more of his other side. They sort of shied away from a bit, kind of a bit too far the other way. But yeah, so there's bits like that they didn't really cover. And then there's some stuff that didn't really go very far because they cut out a lot of it. Like in the story that he has an illegitimate daughter. In history, I think he did have one, but she was English, and we basically know nothing about her. Whereas Hilary Mantel changed it a bit, so it was a Dutch girl. And literally, the entire thing is, it's set up to be something big, and she turns up and is like, I'm your daughter. That's cool. We'll chat for a bit. Hey, you should come to the Netherlands with me. No. Okay. bye, and that's it. I was like, oh, is it? She's not going to come back later, like, when he's in the tower or something, or we're not going to have any conversations here. Or like, say, Lambert being on trial. Like, you see his trial, and then I don't think there's much more mention for the rest of the episode a bit, and then there's mention in the later parts. Oh yeah, he got burned at the stake. It's like, oh, didn't we? Couldn't we see that? So there was definitely like it hit like some of the beats, but it cut out quite a lot. So it felt like it was slow and dragging, but also whizzing through the plot. So although I think the last two episodes are the stronger of the season. That's when it's getting more to the Anna Cleves stuff and Cromwell's downfall. Shame we didn't get more of Anna Cleves' actress. I've obviously had whether she would have historically interacted with him too much, is debatable. I would at least have liked to have seen the incident at Richmond rather than have, I think it was Gregory Cromwell, tell it to his father later. Was it Gregory? I can't remember. I'll flash up on screen, see what it was. Because that feels like some of those old dramas, like By the Sword Divided, they can't show the English Civil War or a lot of the big events. They have just something going like, oh my god, yeah, we just lost the Battle of Naseby. It's terrible. Here's what happened. Because we don't have the budget to show a big battle. So yeah, overall though, pretty positive. I think it'll get a lot of awards, or at least, obviously we had just a few, non-historical ones. The Penguin, that's good. If that will probably dominate a lot of it, I imagine. But at least if Mark Rylance gets nominated for something, I'll be happy. Now on to the next one. In the year that was, Firebrand finally came out after years. Because this was filmed in April-ish of 2022, at the top of my head. And I've covered it in a few previous ones. And it was released at the Cannes Film Festival in May of 23. And then it was just, nothing happened, not even a trailer, until early this year. And I would have covered it, but then various things happened, like Napoleon, and something we're going to cover later. And then it suddenly got released, I think, August, was it? I can't remember. I'll flash up on screen when it was. Now, again, I have seen the first half of it. I saw one half of it. I watched the other half another day. And then the Napoleon Extended Edition came out, and then I got busy doing that. Then I was ill. Oh dear. And then I still haven't seen the other half of it. I am aware of what happens at the end of it, though. So, yeah. From what I've seen so far with it, again, casting is pretty decent. I think the even better than Wolf Hall. I think the costumes, they really did a great job with the hoods and so on, and not the outfits. It was mainly filmed at Haddon Hall. It does feel a little bit small, like compared to like Wolf Hall, which filmed a lot of like they actually got to film at Hampton Court, for example. So much smaller scale, but yeah, pretty decent. I think the casting was overall fine. I can't really think of any roles off the top of my head, but again, remember I've only seen half of it. So the actress who plays Elizabeth Junior Reese, I think her name is. She was a little old for the role, but she does look very much like Elizabeth. Like she should probably, if she could play her, maybe like a grown-up Elizabeth would be good. Because remember, Elizabeth is meant to be about 12, 13 when this is going on. Because it's set around 46 roughly. A lot of people are praising Jude Law. My hot take, he's okay. I wasn't. Something felt a bit off about his performance to me. Maybe it just like I felt like I was watching Jude Law, not necessarily Henry VIII at times. But he's a good actor, I think. I would probably put him in the upper tier. Obviously Keith Michelle is my favourite Henry VIII. I've forgotten his name on the top of my head, but it's the one in A Man for All Seasons. I'll flash up on screen. And then I'm going to put Damien Lewis, who, but again, sorry I forgot to cover in the Wolf Hall bit, but yeah, he was really good. I think an improvement from season 1, actually. There were some great scenes with him in that. I might put him just below Damien Lewis. So he's still in the top tier, but I wouldn't, he's not the best Henry VIII ever. They did try and bulk him out a bit, but obviously they didn't, I did feel it didn't quite work with like his face. And again, actually Damien Lewis had this problem in Wolf Hall, where again, they sort of it bulked him out a little bit and they have him limping and so on, and he's not quite, it's way better obviously than, the Tudors, but, a lot of things are. Although surprised, I'll actually say that. Now that's kind of in the mid-tier compared to like a lot of the other stuff we've had since, and some we're getting on to later. But yeah, I think it was okay. Alicia Vikander was very good. Negatives, there's a lot of, inaccuracies in it. And particularly some, just, again, almost like pointless stuff with the Anne Askew thing, because I thought they were going to build that was like the main conflict of the film. And again, I'm just going to go into spoilers. I don't think... sorry, I'm spoiling history, beg pardon. Sorry, everyone. Spoiler alert, the Titanic's going to hit an iceberg and sink 1912. Sorry, I've ruined Titanic 97 for everyone there. The Anne Askew stuff, she's very prominent in, the early sort of quarter of an hour, 20 minutes of the film off the top of my head. And then it's just casually mentioned off screen, oh yeah, she's been arrested and executed. We're not going to have the whole thing of her being... That's a huge conflict right there. Why's that gone? Again, the Tudors even showed that, But I guess, again, it's probably the budget. They didn't have budget to do a lot of these things, so they just mentioned them off screen. But it happens, I think, far too early, because then it's just it feels like that should have been a big conflict leading into, throughout the movie. But yeah, so they kill her off early. Catherine gets pregnant in it as well, which is something that never happened. Again, I think that's about where I've got to in the film. So my understanding, she then has a miscarriage, and then they arrest her. And again, if you've seen the Simpsons version of Henry VIII, the end of it, that's the end of Firebrand, literally. I'm just like, oh God, why did you do that? So it's better than some. It's obviously nowhere near as good as Wolf Hall. It's a shame, I think they could have done better with some things, but at least they did a good job with the casting and the sets. It's just the problem is they seem to lack the ability to promote things these days. I think ever since the thing that happened in 2020, they've laid off all their promotion marketing people, because it released at Cannes, which should have come just before a release or something. A big promotion. Oh look, I got all this at Cannes, and then a trailer. Oh wow, building anticipation. But no, it was a whole year before we finally got to see it, and then it just was oh yep, here's a trailer. Oh yep, here it is, and even then it was. I think it got released in some American cinemas. It took a while to get to the UK, if my memory serves me right. Or was it the other way around? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was released in America first, and then it came over here. So it's like a reverse Wolf Hall, almost, where you get Master Theatre get it in March, and then Britain got it first, and then it was the other way around with Firebrand, I think. And not many cinemas showed it. In fact, I think if I just go to the articles I have ready, this is according to Wikipedia, mind you. The box office is $3.7 million. Now. It was obviously probably lower budget compared to some, but that's not very good. And a lot of that is because I don't think anybody knew this film existed. The production companies, is MBK Productions and Brouhaha Entertainment, which I still can't get over that name. Oh, sounds like a fake company. Anyway, but yeah, I'll probably. I don't think I've got much else to say about Firebrand at the minute. I'll see if I can get a quick review done. I'm going to prioritise, obviously, I've got the Napoleon review. With the quick reviews, I'll prioritise Wolf Hall, I think, because I've got quite a lot of notes written about that. I'll probably try and do a quick review of Firebrand at some point. But yeah, that was we got the good, Wolf Hall, I wouldn't say the bad, but and then we got the ugly of the year that was, My Lady Jane.
Off to hang myself, horse and left!
If you've seen the video I did last year, it's still this year at the time I'm recording this, last year at the time you're hearing this, on the trailer, one consolation though was that it got cancelled. That was good though. So yeah, I better get people up to speed. This was a comedy with a bit of drama in it, alt history fantasy thing about Lady Jane Grey. Now, again, the core of it would be, oh yeah, what if she wasn't overthrown, but then she is still overthrown and this nearly beheaded anyway. But that kind of defeats the whole point of the alt history thing. But anyway, and then they add a load of stupid animals, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, this was released in July, and very unusually, the entire thing was released at once. I've never heard of Amazon doing that before. Netflix does, but that's because, they're basically a binge model channel. They're sort of built around that. Amazon, is built more around the weekly model. Occasionally they might just say 2 or 3, like they did with Rings of Power, get released at once, but normally it's weekly, because you want to get those ratings. That would suggest to me they had no confidence in it, and were like, yeah, let's just get rid of this quick. And they tried to release it all at once so the watch minutes would be massively increased, so then they could get it on the charts and say, aha, see, we technically had a bit of a success. Same with Napoleon coming back from Russia, well, I technically won, I technically did well, I took Moscow, guys. Ignore the fact my entire army froze to death on the way back, but, well, actually, more men died on the way in, but, watch the Napoleon review when I get around to it, I'll go into then. Now, again, obviously, up front, I've not seen the whole thing, I've seen bits of it. I read through some of the script as well. I just found a transcript of it, and yeah, I think I'm justified in hating it. You might say, how can you judge it? You haven't watched it all. No, I can see shit when it's on a plate. Just the bits I saw. There's one scene at the start of episode 8 where Jane is being led into the tower, and they have this flashback to the execution of Catherine Howard because they have young Jane witness it for whatever reason. But okay, fine, we'll roll with this. The music choice was weird because it's meant to be oh wow, God, so the main character is going to get killed. This is serious, right? And then they just the soundtrack is so odd. I wish I could play it, but I better not because I'll get hit by copyright. And then she just goes bollocks at the end of it. Jane, I'm just you're going to die. This is a serious thing. Why are you treating this so flippantly? Like, what mood are you trying to build a like sad thing here, or because again, this is the whole point of making this a comedy in an era that doesn't really for something that doesn't fit. And again, they do the whole like sassy girl boss thing, like when she's again, this is just from the script that I read, that when she's about to be executed, she begs the again in this one they save her, but she's about to be executed, and the executor begs forgiveness, which is a thing they did in Tudor times. The executioner would beg forgiveness from the person they were about to kill, and they would normally pay them a gold sovereign, and say and it's something which just started happening with Jane. We have record of that. That shows strength of like humility, a sense of kindness. We can't have those morals today, no, because she tells. Did I write it down? Give me a second. I think I did.
346 minutes later.
Yes, here it is. Sorry. Executioner, do you forgive me, my lady? And she replies, F no. Yeah. When you're going to be executed, that's the last thing you want to do to your executioner, particularly in a beheading, because with an axe, where it might, because that's the whole point is to like have you pay them the money. In theory, they'll try and do their best to do it in one clean blow. If you pee them off, it's a bit like it's a bit like peeing off your car mechanic when he's checking your brakes. He might not put them back properly. But also just like the thing of like, we can't have I'm starting to Mary Whitehouse here for a moment, but those nice virtues again. This was apparently written because like the authors of the book it's based on were like, oh, we were so interested in the story of Jane, and we want to have like an ending where she ends good, but she doesn't seem to have any of the virtues of Jane or any of that. She wasn't known to go tell people to F off, and again, quite the opposite. She was. And then they get this one like, well, it's a fantasy. It's not meant to be historical. Which, that gets onto all the articles. Scarlett Hamilton of the New Statesman, in defence of the anachronistic period drama, sorry, I apologise to do it in the voice. I can't help myself. A new microgenre has emerged: the playful historical dramedy. Should we really be troubled by this fictionalisation of the past? Ooh, sorry. I've seen this image 100 times before, and I can't. It's the meme image. Like, if that's the only thing this series got known for, was like months after it got released, somebody put out a tweet saying they made the King of England gay, black, and disabled as this picture. I don't think he's actually as disabled in the show. I think he's just because he's ill. I think he's in the wheelchair. But like, it's perfect. Got Karen, Jane off to the left there, and oh god. I mean, again, just a line from this article. It is a self-aware and fantastical reimagination of events, one intended to entertain. I weren't very entertained. At least the stuff I saw. Shock. Yeah, I was pretty shocked by a lot of the dialogue with the looks of it. And amused. Again, some of the jokes, I cover this in the trailer, like, they don't seem very funny. They're regurgitating bits and bobs I've heard from other previous things. They haven't got any of the witches on. They say like Blackadder, which is that's a very big old history. That's barely historical. Only Elizabeth I really is the only historical character, and maybe Sir Francis Drake, I think, is in it. Or Sir Walter Raleigh, big pun. But that's still like, because that was basically parodying like the tropes of the era, which is what you're trying to do. And here it's just like, we made a show like this, and it's got nothing to do with it. Like, don't judge it for it. It's like, well, why did you take the names then? You could have just done your own sort of mystical fantasy series. But again, they didn't do that because they want the name recognition, because she's known as the 9-Day Queen. On the higher ranking of period dramas, it's always Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, Mary Queen of Scots, and then maybe Lady Jane Grey a little bit, But she's also known a bit because she is the shortest reigning, depending how you look at it, queen in English history. So you're willing to play to the history for that, and you still have, probably more than half the cast are based on historical people. So again, I've got the IMDb open here. Lady Jane Grey, historical. Guildford Dudley, historical. Francis Grey, historical. Rob Bryan, Lord Dudley, now he's meant to be the Duke of Northumberland, historical. Mary I, historical. Then there's a few other ones, like the Dominic Cooper's character and Henry Ashton's are made up, or amalgamations of others. The younger sister they changed the name of. Then, as you get further, you get few ones. But, there's a lot of people here who existed and did things. And again, as I point out, there's a lot of historical things they probably could have done, which I doubt they did. But yeah, sorry, continue with that article. It's a self-aware and fantastical reimagination of events, one intended to entertain, shock and amuse, not educate. The creators reject the established narrative that Jane was an innocent victim and revel in rewriting history. But that's the point of Jane. Like, that's what draws people to her, is her innocence in this base. I mean, obviously, well, she did, try and take the throne, but as she herself said, technically, yes, I did, but I was sort of forced into it, and that is true, There is some debate over exactly how much she, once she was forced it, she probably had to try, but that's the thing. Also, like, just because she was executed and forced it doesn't mean she's weak. She had strength. She was very intellectual. She spoke, I think, something like 7 languages. She could be very opinionated. We've got some of the original contemporary accounts, the Chronicle, who had dinner with her when she was in the tower, and she let flip, let what do you call it? Went off on one about Northumberland. And then there's things as well, like, the whole, when she was about to be executed, and she had the debate with Feckenham, and then made friends with him, which is unusual, because she was a very, devout Protestant, and he was a Catholic, and she kind of let that go and became his friend almost at those last days. That's a good thing to see, even if she does have a tragic end. But, like, rewriting it just to make her, like, being sassy and, they do keep little bits of it in there with, her being clever and stuff, but, like, I mean, one of it, though, they have her, I don't think I can say. I'll put it on screen in words because I'm on YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized. And then obviously the other than that, because they changed, which is something the marketing cut out a lot, because and also the stupidity of this, because Tudor England, what is it dominated by post Reformation? It's religion, and even before then, religion. Just because the modern world doesn't focus on it doesn't mean you can't show that. I mean, at least becoming Elizabeth did at least show the religious divide. They've been like, oh no, well, people don't want to see that, so we change them into shape-shifting animals. Woo! And you get this silly article. The fear that twisting the past will result in some profound misunderstanding is surely misplaced when it comes to this new subgenre of anachronism. I'm not sure who exactly might believe that human-animal shapeshifters once roamed Tudor England, but again, that's not the point, though, is it? You've got reasonable criticisms like, why is Jane doing all this? Like, yeah, but shape-shifting animals. It's two different things. It's like, it's the meme of, Theoden and his horse, and it's like, you can accept dragons and things, but you can't accept a BMW 5 Series with optional heated seating, or, That's not the criticism, is it? That's stupid as well. That's a whole different kettle of fish. We're looking at this, though, aren't we? Why did you take a really interesting story, which is Lady Jane Grey, and it's really 13 days, but, 13/9 days, and do this to it? But then, we don't have to worry too much now, because it got cancelled. And, of course, there was a petition about this. It was quite funny. It got 100,000 signatures to say, no, please don't cancel it, please. And there was another one, it got 16,000. I think there was just a UK one. So combined, 107,000 plus 16,000. So that's good. Got a few there. Nowhere near enough that Amazon's going to do anything. And particularly actually Reddit of all places. There's a guy here actually went through the data for this. These are the Illuminate ratings for its premiere week. And remember, they dumped the whole thing at once. The estimated minutes watched was about 300 million, and it came 9th that week. So it only just made the top 10, but compared to, Bridgerton, which as far as at the time, I think it had a season now, but I don't think it was super recent, like it come out months earlier. That was above at 486, and The Bear was at the top of 1.2 billion, and then it dropped off. Just like, but the next week it wasn't there at all. And even on the first 8 days, only got 0, it was right down here. Now, I will be a little fair. Releasing the whole thing at once, that definitely made it do well. It probably might have done slightly better if it had been weekly. And again, pointing back to Wolf Hall and Firebrand, promotion. More Firebrand, really. They didn't do a very good job of promoting it, definitely. You had that stupid trailer. I suspect they might have got female movies if they just done it as a weekly model and done a little more promotion for it instead of doing the rush thing. But this has been happening for a while, though. Becoming Elizabeth, this happened. They didn't promote it at all, and then it didn't get many views, and then they cancelled it. It does feel like they're greenlighting a lot of series and sort of rushing them out, I think, to try and make up for all the stuff they lost during the thing that happened. Instead of just doing maybe like a pilot or something and then pitching the pilots, they're trying to rush the stages, and then they make this, it didn't do well, I'll cancel it. So sorry, I rambled on a little bit there. Is there anything else I want to really cover with this topic? Not much else other than it's cancelled, so I don't have to do a review on it, that's great. Right, now, it's probably, at the time of recording, I've been about recording for half an hour, and we're finally getting to the upcoming ones. And there's a few, because again, I honestly thought I was not going to have enough to make a video this year, and now I think this is going to be the longest upcoming Tudor drama video I've ever done. Because we've got a few, and I bet do them in order first, actually. Hot on the heels of the failure of, because they suddenly decided, we're not going to, now, admittedly this was announced earlier in the year, before My Lady Jane and Wolf Hall and stuff, but they decided, we need to keep doing the comedy thing. So they're going to be doing a comedy. Guess who it is? Mary the First, that jolly character, well known in popular imagination as Bloody Mary. A bit unfairly, let's be honest, but nevertheless, like in the popular imagination, she's most known for burning Protestants at the stake. Let's make a comedy. At least that's my understanding of it. I think it might be a bit more Well, no, IMDb literally says comedy, so... At the time of recording this, and this was months ago this was announced, we've heard nothing but the announcement. A little bit of casting. Jim Broadbent, I think, was in My Lady Jane, if not mistaken. He's Cardinal Pole. Patsy Ferran, who's actually Mary in Firebrand, funnily enough. She's playing Jane Fool, who is Mary the First's, her name's just Fool, so like one of her entertainers. And was a fairly close sort of member of her household. Brenda Blethyn is in it. I don't know who she's playing. That's not listed on the IMDb. And then the main role is Karen Gillian. No offence to the historical Mary the First. I think Karen looks a lot prettier than Mary. And particularly, this is Mary. It's meant to be, I believe, when she's queen or about to become queen, when she's sort of late 30s, nearly into her 40s. And by accounts was not as attractive as she was when she was younger. So why they got a quite attractive actress like Karen Gillian, I don't know. But other than that, we know very little. But again, it seems such a weird choice, like Mary the First for a comedy. I mean, okay, six was a Henry VIII, two of them are beheaded, that is bad, but you can at least make some comedy out of it, with like the, oh my god, he's got more wives, again, and Carry On literally did back in the day, or Blackadder, you got different bits you compare to, like, Mary the First, like, they seem to be picking, like, the middle Tudor period, trying to find something different, but still got name recognition, and they're going for ones that are quite, known for, like, Lady Jane Grey, known for ruling very brief and having a head cut off, and Mary, who's known for having Jane's head cut off and burning Protestants at the stake. It's like, I can't comment on it much more, but it's not the only one we got coming up. There is another. A bit like, Homer chasing the thing, like, wait, I have garbage, here's more. Right at the end of the year. And I only came across it because I was doing some research for the Wolf Hall stuff, and this article popped saying, oh, if you like Wolf Hall, you'd like this. It's like, wait, what? ITV are commissioning a period drama, Majesty, which it says drama, but apparently can have some comedic elements, I believe. It's written by Grey's Anatomy, not to be confused with Lady Jane Grey, of course, the medical show Grey's Anatomy, showrunners, and directed by James Strong. Now, this basically, I've just been railing against My Lady Jane. This is basically sounds like it's Becoming Elizabeth mixed with My Lady Jane, from what I'm reading from this press media release that ITV did. So ITV commissions period drama, Majesty, set in the court of King Henry VIII. And according to the ITV's director of drama, it depicts the life of a young Elizabeth I and places her and her place in the court of King Henry VIII. Far from being a historical account of Elizabeth's early years, Majesty is a bold, intriguing reimagining, whenever I hear those words that means bull, of her life. And this is the part that really got me worried, based upon conspiracy theories which surrounded her as a youth. Was the Virgin Queen hiding a profound secret? And how did this overlooked, embattled princess become the most powerful ruler England has ever known? That whole bit about conspiracy theories and profound secret, that is worrying me. The only thing I can think is, so the sound of it is going to be set during Henry's reign, which, I mean, again, in theory, she should be a child, but no, then they're going to do what every other drama's been doing, like Becoming Elizabeth and Firebrand and age Elizabeth up. But one of the things, there's one of these sort of more wacko theories out there was the whole theory that she was actually a boy. It's a silly theory. It's very stupid. I think they're going to do that. This is just a complete guess. I'm not the only one. I think some other media outlet I'll put up on screen, they also were guessing that it might be that. So they'll have an actor, male actor playing Elizabeth. The only other secret, and the problem is they do say the Virgin Queen, I hope they're not going to do what Becoming Elizabeth did with Thomas Seymour. You'd think you'd learn from that, because, again, that was the main thing that really brought down Becoming Elizabeth. Again, it's funny, the strength of it was Mary and Edward, Jane somewhat, although she was barely in it, and then the weakness was Elizabeth, and particularly the Thomas Seymour stuff, which they focus on for most of the series. If they do any of those two things, that's bad. Okay, was there something else? Here's the showrunners commenting on it. Majesty is an emotional, funny, and my trigger word, contemporary feeling alternate history. You can see where I said it's like My Lady Jane. About how 3 outsiders try to stay alive while hiding a secret that, if discovered, would rock England to its foundations. Now, 3 outsiders, that's a very odd thing. That's why I was thinking more it's going to be the boy theory, because is it going to be like that's going to be one of them and then it's like a couple of servants or something? Oh no. Majesty allows us to have fun with history while illuminating who we are now. Talentless hacks. This show is pure wish fulfillment of how people devoted to the public good suddenly find themselves in a position to make a difference. That's a very odd statement. Now, it's apparently going to be a 6-part series. That's all we know so far. Everything's 6 parts these days. James Strong will be directing. He'd done a few things there, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, which was ITV's best drama of that year. But again, that was a drama about the Post Office scandal. This is about Queen Elizabeth I. Although he has done a few things. He did Vanity Fair and stuff like that. But I'll better just read the other comments. Polly Hill again. I'm delighted to be announcing Majesty and to be working with James and his team on such an intriguing and thought-provoking story. I hate all this fluff they put in these things. Everything is groundbreaking. It's no, it's not. It's a bit like when I was at uni. I think there was a lecturer. He was trying to. Is the run up to the anniversary of Magna Carta or something like that? It was oh yes, we've made here at the history department. We made a great groundbreaking discovery. It's oh wow, what's the discovery? It's we found the name of one of the monks who inscribed it. Oh wow, that's cool. What was the discovery? It's it shows that the church was involved in the state. It's wow, I didn't know that the church was heavily involved in the medieval English state. That's amazing. And particularly not Magna Carta. It's not like there was an archbishop who was rather involved in it. Anyway, Majesty is a perfect illustration of the range of drama we want to see on ITV as we continue to strive to make to make the best and most ambitious mainstream drama for our UK audiences. Yeah, and then they won't do very well internationally, no doubt. But I just find that funny because I suddenly the thought in my mind, what was the last Tudor drama they did? It was Henry VIII, 2003, the Ray Winston one, which is one of those their first and at the moment only attempt, and now this is going to be their second attempt at a Tudor drama. That one didn't go too well. It gets memed to hell and back as Ray Winston.
The Queen promised me. She promised me sons. She has betrayed me. Get rid of her.
Oh, God. And then perhaps he'll play Elizabeth, that'll be it. And then finally, James Strong. I could not be more thrilled to be bringing this audacious and original when it's literally, again, you're just copying the form of, My Lady Jane and trying to do stuff again, they're all coming from, Bridgerton and The Great and stuff like that. They're all trying to have their own version of it. This is the problem. Always having to get one successful thing, and the rest of the next 10 years is just everyone trying to make that their own version and failing. I could not be more thrilled to bring this audacious and original show to the screen. The brilliant scripts are a director's dream. Oh god, and we get to reimagine and... Oh, I'm going to be sick.
Pray for Mojo.
Actually, no, that's because I had fish and chips earlier and I had too much, but anyway. And recreating an iconic piece of English history. Except you're going to change it all. And tell a period that looks stunning, but it also feels modern and relevant to today's viewers. That's not good. Now, the only other bit of news I've been able to find, because again, it's very early development, so they say it's going to be 2025 it'll be out, or production, it'll be in production in 2025, so it'll probably be 26 before we get it. Although TV productions, they can be a bit quicker, some of these ones. Wolf Hall was filmed in early 24, and then it came out before Christmas, so they could push it. Dr. Elizabeth Norton, I believe, actually did some of the historical advice for Firebrand and so on. She put out a tweet saying, "This is so exciting. I can't wait for everyone to see what is going to be a wonderful show," which to me suggests she's involved, probably as the historical advisor. Nevertheless, this whole press conference thing, that doesn't give me much hope. Now, currently, it's been nearly about 45 minutes I've been recording, but it'll be a bit less because I'll cut some bits out. I'm going to just throw in the wild card here, and it's nothing to do with the Tudors. I just wanted to talk about this, but I didn't want to do a separate video. BBC are doing another historical drama, but this one is finally doing another period that isn't Henry VIII. Because at the minute, all period dramas are either Adolf Hitler or Henry VIII, or related to them. But this one is going to be William the Conqueror. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I don't think we've really had much about the Norman Conquest in film. Last thing I think is Channel 4 did a kind of drama documentary back in 2016, I think it was, maybe earlier than that even. But yeah, this one is called King and Conqueror. They released some pictures of it. I'm just going to go through the pictures. I won't go through too much of the casting, but I'm not as confident this one. It's being filmed in Iceland, which is, of course, very well known for its appearance to medieval England, because people seem to have this idea that medieval England is some... I know it's Anglo-Saxon, early medieval England is somehow just like a barren wasteland. It's like, no, there was a pretty established field system, even in that era. There are roads, there's basic infrastructure. It's not a complete, wasteland. A volcanic wasteland even, because we don't tend to have too many active volcanoes in England, particularly in the south. again, just put up a picture of modern-day Hastings, or near where the battle was fought, which probably has changed a bit, I agree. We know there was a marsh in the battle, and probably wouldn't have quite had the same fields and stuff, and then they're just going to put the pictures on screen of where they're filming the battle, and it's like, But some of these costumes, again, this is a little out of my area of expertise. I did the Anglo-Saxons and the sort of Middle Ages at uni, but I didn't really, it's not my area of expertise. But look at this. This looks more like Game of Thrones. I mean, literally, again, look who's playing William the Conqueror. We always have to get a Game of Thrones actor in there, don't we? We've got another one here. I mean, we've got the Earl of Wessex. This does not look very Anglo-Saxon to me. Like, where is the chainmail? And it's not like, I know obviously metal chainmail are going to be expensive and so on, but like, I'm sure there must be something else. You probably got somewhere else you can make this, but this looks like they're just reused some costumes from some other historical productions or like fantasy things they've got. And in particular, the battle, obviously, the Battle of Hastings, one of the most famous things about it was obviously the Anglo-Saxon army was in a shield wall, because that was the main Saxon sort of tactic, and the Normans mainly relied on their archers and their cavalry. But they couldn't break the Saxon line because it held firm. Until there's a period where William, the rumour went among the men that he died, and he took his helmet and said, no, man, I'm alive. But that little distraction led some of the Saxons to break the formation and give chase to the retreating Normans, or Normans and allies, obviously, because they had Bretons and other troops with him. And then that gave them the idea, like, we could feign the retreat here. And he started doing that. And the more, obviously Anglo-Saxon army split into more the kind of the Thanes, the more kind of, I wouldn't say professional soldiers, but more, battle-hardened. And then the regular sort of Fjord, the militia, basically, who were less disciplined, and a lot of them broke ranks and then charged after them and then got cut down by the cavalry, which then weakened the shield wall, and then obviously the archers were able to come in, and that's how William the Conqueror won the battle. That's very famous. I think even a primary school child knows that. I learned it at primary school from what I remember. But some of these pictures, there's some here of the battle, and it looks like it's if 20 guys running around a field. I'm sure they'll put CGI in a bit, in maybe a volcano or two, perhaps Mount Doom in the background, Baladur, something like that. This does not fill me with confidence. It could, at best faith, maybe it's the end of the battle when the lines are breaking, and maybe, given what you see in nearly every medieval battle ever, I have no confidence. It's not like it's hard to do. Again, I used to do Napoleonic reenacting. We learned the basic drill of attention, shoulder arms, left face, right face, about face in a day. That's the whole point where drill was quite simple, and that's in the 19th century when it's professionalised. Back then, it's even more probably simplified for your average Anglo-Saxon peasant, with his shield. You just have your big shield and you link it, and you'll have a spear. I can understand, I know that's one of the main criticisms, obviously, they tend to always have swords and these sort of medieval things, when actually, it probably been more spearmen was the main sort of weapon, but probably from a health and safety perspective, I suspect that's why they go for swords. It's a bit easier to do opposed to spears. Nevertheless, this doesn't look good. Again, the shields, I got one on here of the Duke of Normandy. This shield they're all plain wooden ones. They've got some sort of like leather or metal lion, obviously, the lions of Normandy. I'm not 100% sure. I think they use that a bit later, but fair enough. You need they're symbols represent the Normans. We'll use the Norman lions, but they usually had quite colourful shield. Again, I'll flash a picture on screen of some reenactors. These look nice. Why is it dull grey stuff? Why do you hate colour? Why? Anything joyful in life. I know it says me, because I was quite joyful when I started this channel. Now I'm a very broken man, but plot-wise, it's different. They might. I hope that might. It's got some decent actors. They are doing the Wolf Hall theme with the cast. I do have to mention that. Let's hope it's not too prominent, because it's even worse. Like, at least in Tudor England, there was some contact, and you obviously had John Blank, the trumpeter. Kath of Aragon had her entourage when she came over. Here, this is 1066. This is, I don't know, but my hope, at least maybe, at least I'll give them this. At least they're doing something different. It's not Henry VIII. But yeah, obviously I know that wasn't Tudor, but I just wanted to talk about that one, and I didn't want to do it in a separate video, so you got a bonus. And yeah, that's about it. I've ranted for nearly an hour. This is going to be hell to edit now. What have I done? Oh God. Time you're hearing this, it'll probably be after the New Year, so Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year. And yeah, I've got to look forward to the Napoleon review next year of a wonderful film by Mr. Ridley Scott, who I hate with every fibre of my being. So, anyway, this has been The Laughing Cavalier, wishing you a good day.
most